You're listening to The Jake Asman Show on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Jake Asman.
Prescott stumbles, stays afloat, looks downfield, fires deep downfield, and it will be caught by Austin. He only gets sacked twice to the 31-yard line, and it's Watt who put the pressure on, and Prescott stays alive.
Cowboys fans will be watching plenty of that going forward. Dak Prescott finally has been paid. The Cowboys and Dak have agreed to a 4-year, $160 million extension. It includes an NFL record, $126 million guaranteed. Dak gets a full no-trade clause and a no-tag provision. And, he bet on himself, and it worked. The call there, of course, by Al Michaels on NBC. Here's the reality. What option did the Cowboys have if they were not going to sign Dak Prescott long-term? The reality is they should have signed him long-term a couple of years ago, because then his contract would be a bargain. But now, in a year in which the cap's going down and the franchise tag hit is $37 million, having to pay $37 million all in 1 year to your quarterback in a year when the cap's going down makes zero sense. You had no choice if you're Jerry Jones but to pay Dak. You're able to now lower his salary cap hit from $37 million to $22.2 million, which is about $15.5 million in savings. You pay your quarterback early because you get a bargain on the guy if you do it. They waited. Dak bet on himself, and because he plays the most important position in sports, he had all the leverage. And he used the leverage to his advantage. I mean, think about what Dak pulled off. He's getting $75 million in the first year. $40 million per year on average. $126 million guaranteed. That's more than Patrick Mahomes. No trade clause, no tag clause. Dak got everything he wanted after a year where he only played 5 games and had a compound fracture, had a bone coming out of his body. And he still got his money. That's because the quarterback position is the most valuable and most important position in all of sports. And Dallas had no option. They're not picking high enough to get a stud quarterback. No trade options realistic. So if you're going to try and win going forward, Dak gives you the best chance to win. And the Cowboys had no choice whatsoever but to pay Dak. And he deserves it because you know what? For the first couple of years of his career being a 4th-round pick, he was underpaid. And he was willing to bet on himself. Last year, Dallas wanted to give him a 5-year deal. He said no. He wants a 4-year deal so he could hit free agency again when he's only 31. Which, by the way, 31 is basically like the new 25 if you're a quarterback in the NFL. I'm not saying everyone's going to be Tom Brady and play into their mid-40s, but we're seeing more and more guys still have high upside into their late 30s. So Dak's going to get a chance to hit the open market once again in 2025. And no franchise tags will be allowed this time around. He can't be traded unless he gives approval. He bet on himself and it worked. And Dak deserves credit for being willing to play a little hardball with the Cowboys and Jerry. Dak Prescott, is he a top 10 quarterback in the sport? I think he's around there. He's certainly not the second best quarterback in the NFL, and he's being paid like he's the second highest quarterback. But guess what? That's not how it works. You are what someone's willing to pay you. And the next guy up always gets paid. The next guy up always gets their money. That's why Dallas should have signed them a couple of years ago, because you would have had Dak at a bargain. Now you got to pay a premium. That's how this works. Once again, though, I throw this out there. If you're someone saying Dak's overpaid, okay. But what would you like the Cowboys to do? What was their option? Russell Wilson? That's not happening. Deshaun Watson? That's not happening. What was their option at quarterback? Andy Dalton? How'd that work out last year? Remember that thought? Oh, the Cowboys are going to be fine with Andy Dalton playing quarterback. Andy Dalton's not that much of a drop-off compared to Dak. Honestly, Dak showed his value by just not playing last year, by getting hurt, because the Cowboys were a disaster without him. And if you're the Cowboys, you're in a division that is obviously very winnable, considering the team that won the division only won 7 games last season. You didn't have a choice. And Jerry Jones basically told everyone Dak has the leverage. He said that publicly. So this is a story that has been discussed for years, but it's an end result that we all probably should have saw coming, because what option did the Dallas Cowboys have? And when you consider the salary cap ramifications of Dak's salary cap hit being $22 million as opposed to $37 million, it's a no-brainer to sign the guy long-term. So the Dallas Cowboys did what they had to do. They paid their quarterback, who gives them the best option to win going forward. And on a personal note, I got to interview Dak Prescott at the Super Bowl in Miami now in 2019, going into 2020. And he couldn't have been a cooler dude. You could just tell why people like him. He was humble, respectful, all that. His teammates love him. Fans love him. Is he ever going to be a top 5 quarterback in the sport? Remains to be seen. But does he give you the best chance to win if you're the Dallas Cowboys in a division that's terrible? He absolutely does. So Dak getting paid, not a surprise. And I'll throw this out there as well. I'd rather be Dak Prescott than Patrick Mahomes as far as quarterback contracts. I'll take the shorter-term deal with the higher guaranteed money and then get another chance to be a free agent at age 31 than Mahomes, who signed a 10-year deal. Now, look, Mahomes is going to get his money. I'm sure the Chiefs could redo that contract at some point. But Dak Prescott gets to be a free agent again when he's 31 years old. And he's going to get his money big time once more once the TV contracts are renegotiated in the NFL. I saw something interesting on Twitter last night. So Peyton Manning in his 4 years total in Denver, that was 5 years ago, his last year. Peyton Manning made a total of $75 million, 4 years with the Denver Broncos. Dak's getting $75 million in year one. So it really puts in perspective how even over the last 5 years, we're seeing quarterback contracts continue to just skyrocket and go up and up and up. Pay your quarterback early, because in a few years, you get that said guy on a bargain. Aaron Rodgers, remember when he got his big money? He makes $33.5 million a year. Mahomes is the standard at 45. That's $12 million more than Rodgers. Dak's now going to make around 40 per year. Deshaun Watson's at 39. Think about that contract and how big of a bargain that now is going forward. That's why you pay the quarterback early. Now, you could pay the guy early and he could be bad, a la Carson Wentz or Jared Goff. But if you believe in your guy, the incentive to pay him early is that you get him on a bargain going forward, relatively speaking, to the rest of the market. So the Cowboys had no choice. If you don't think the Cowboys should have paid Dak, my question to you is this: then who is your realistic option to replace him? Because for what it's worth, there was no realistic option to replace Dak Prescott. Russell Wilson's not coming to Dallas. You know who's also not coming to Dallas? Deshaun Watson. So ultimately, yeah, did the Cowboys probably botch this? They should have paid him a couple of years ago, yes. But they have never wavered that Dak was their guy. Stephen Jones told the media during the season last year that they were not going to draft a quarterback high. So they've always said Dak's their guy, and they were true to their word, and a deal gets done. And they'll do a press conference on Wednesday. So that'll be tomorrow, announcing the details of the deal. So Dak gets his money, and now Cowboys have some salary cap space to try and fix their defense, try and improve their offensive line. They have a lot of needs, a lot of holes on their team, but at least they now have an extra $15 million in salary cap space to try and fix the roster. 800-224-2004 is the number if you want to weigh in. What's your take on Dak signing a 4-year, $160 million extension with the Cowboys? And do you agree with me? Would you rather have the Dak contract where you hit free agency once again at age 31? Or would you rather have the Mahomes contract where you got a 10-year deal? That's the question I throw out there to you. We will react to that and more in the next segment. Plus, Jalen Hurts, apparently ownership wants to make him the guy in Philadelphia. That is, to me, an egregious error by the organization. We talk about that next. Jake Asman with you. You're listening to the Jake Asman Show here on a Tuesday morning. We're coming right back on Sports Map Radio.
The Jake Asman Show.
Actor Jeremy